Hello and welcome to what I've now coined this as Nostalgia 360. It was under Generation History, where I take a look at all of the Xbox 360 games in my possession ever since kind of the start. And this is part 2 of that series. The last time I did one of these videos was I think way back in October last year, so it's been a long time coming, but I do thank you for your patience. I'll try and put one out every week now if I can, or every couple of weeks, obviously on the Gaming Monday. So this is part 2, and I think this will be the 6th game in overall, and this is Fight Night Round 3. I remember seeing some of the previews and things of this game. It looked absolutely amazing. Graphics were brilliant, textures, the dust, it really took you there. The controls were a bit strange to get used to, but they worked. It's one of these ones where you move your character with your left thumbstick and punch with your right. This was a good feature as well. You could manually heal, like iron out the bruising and swelling and things, and deal with the cuts in between rounds. That was quite a good feature. Never really seen anything like that before. You get these nice bored ladies. It must be quite warm in there.
Round number 2 is about to begin. Muhammad Ali.
Of course, chose Muhammad Ali. That's me playing on the left against Joe Frazier.
Nice shot. He sits back,
And this game actually holds up quite well, really. When you look at it, it still looks pretty decent.
2-punch combination lands flush.
Oh, nearly.
Can't get sloppy.
So this is just a bit of gameplay for Fight Night Round 3 that I must have got way back in 2006 time. Came out February, well, March time in Europe. Actually a sequel to Fight Night Round 2 that was released a year before that. Oh, I love this feature of it as well. Get ready. Oh. It really puts you in there. Bit of slow-mo. Load of blood shoots out. Excellent.
1, 2.
So yeah, obviously I go ahead and I think I win this whole fight. But that's just a bit of a look at Fight Night Round 3. Next game up will be Burnout Revenge. Here we have it.
Console generation. People have experienced burnout in the only way it's been possible.
I saw this and I thought, wow.
Played it this way. You haven't experienced it at all. Burnout has now entered the era of high definition. So buckle up.
So this is Burnout Revenge on the Xbox 360. You can see it there, 2006 it came out. I think March time, same kind of time as Fight Night Round 3. Just looking at my achievements here, obviously got 1,000 on Fight Night, but Burnout, no. There's a few ones that I didn't get on that, multiplayer wise I believe. But I obviously had to change the track there. Have a bit of we are scientists. As you can see, it hasn't aged that well. It looks a little bit like a PlayStation 2 game, really. It's all right, but yeah, it's definitely hasn't aged that well. I mean, if you look at Burnout Paradise, that has aged okay. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this game. When I first got it. I didn't actually have a high def telly when I got it. I had a standard def, but I did play it in high def on other people's tellies now and again. But no, I really enjoyed it. I don't know, it just seems really difficult. you'll see in the next video, which will be Quake 4, that I'm sure games were a lot more difficult like 6-7 years ago. But no, great game at the time. Nothing quite like it. Gave you a bit of a more arcadey type game than PGR3, even though PGR3 is a little bit arcadey. But I mean, in terms of graphics and like all the crashes and things, and the fact that you could explode your car after, you know, when you in mid crash to take other racers out, it's just incredible. They changed the physics and things so that if you hit a car, you didn't, you know, like explode. You just like push them out of the way, which is what they took out of Paradise when that then came out. But this is Eliminator, so obviously there's a set amount of time, and then if you're whatever position you're in, as long as you're not last, you're okay. So you've got to be one above last place all the way to the end. But really excellent game at the time. Definitely brings back some memories. And a lot of these tracks and things like that do remind me of Paradise, Burnout Paradise. So now we're first out of the two, so another 20 seconds, and I should have won this one. Believe it or not, it was their fourth Burnout game that they'd made, and it did come out. It actually came out September 2005. Oh, so it's 360, sorry. Came out 17th of March 2006. I must have got it same day or release day. Anyway, let's take a look at Quake 4. Ah yes, you see that id logo or the ID logo, and you know you're in for a treat, whether it's Quake or Doom or another game like that. You just know that it's going to be good. It's a little bit of spoiler because I'm loading up an old save, and it's on general difficulty, the hardest difficulty, and I get my ass handed to me. I really do get my ass kicked. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm not used to it, but I didn't know general difficulty was that difficult. I really had no clue, and I was caught like a rabbit in headlights because I just really get killed badly. Graphics are pretty bad. Then they haven't held up well, I don't think. Doom's graphics have, but Quake's haven't. And it's interesting because I always like Doom more than Quake. Quake's always going to hold a special place in my heart, like Quake 2 did specifically. But it's strange because I think id chose, well, id obviously made, you know, Quake 4 and other Quakes and things, but Doom, they made the Doom 2, and then it took ages before they did Doom 3, and it just felt like they preferred Quake over Doom, which is very strange. But look at this. So I'm on the right track here using the lightning gun because that's quite good against the shields already. And I start shooting at his gun. Fire a couple of rockets. And then just get absolutely annihilated. Minus 11 health. That sucks. I've skipped the loading screens. This is another save game that I loaded up. Just for comedy value, really. I take so much damage, just the normal enemies. Thought, yeah, okay, I'm doing quite well there. Alright, so... And then I'm against this guy, who's armed with a humble nail gun. But then, yeah, get my ass kicked again. But good game at the time. I think this one came out same time, like 2006 time. All of my games are in chronological order when they came out. So this came out similar time. Yeah, this one was actually published by Bethesda, and this one came out October 2005. No, December 2005. So this was actually before the Burnout and the Fight Night. So this might have been a launch game, or a little bit after launch, but I picked it up a few months after. But at the time, it's quite decent. And then I don't know what happened there, because I was on like 1 health, and then yeah, so didn't do too well. But on Quake 4, going back on that, you can tell by the logo and the sound that you're in for something special. And of course you are with Ubisoft, or Ubisoft, however you want to pronounce that. But this is, of course, if you can't already tell by now, FarCry. Now, if you were lucky enough to get FarCry when it first came out on the PC, if your PC specs were good enough, then you'll know that later on it came out on console under the guise of Instinct's Predator, where they had the DLC rolled into the story. It was kind of separate, and it's, again, achievements back then were a little bit hit and miss, no pun intended, but they were. The achievements for the different difficulties were not stackable, so in this case, I'd completed it on Hunter, didn't get the achievement for Rookie, so I'd have to go back and play it on Rookie to get that achievement for the completion. I was getting used to the controls while I was playing this, because they're they're difficult to get used to, and you got this weird thing. There's a spoiler alert, by the way, but where you just, and I kept throwing grenades by accident, because it was I think LT. I think back then they were still using, a lot of games were still using grenades as LT rather than looking down the sights with LT. I can't remember from Call of Duty 2 video whether that's the case, but graphics wise, they're really quite bad nowadays. If you compare them, I'm looking at FarCry 3 here, you compare them to that and they're pretty bad, but it's an alright game. It was very good for its time when it came out on the console. Very, very linear, not very, well, I found it quite linear anyway, but yeah, very good game for its time. And what I do here is I move off the cliff slightly. Well, I will do in a second. Keep throwing these grenades by accident, and I forget that when you move on this, you're on yeah, make a horrible red mess on the floor. So that's a big fail. So I'll load up a previous save, and I've fast forwarded it, all the loading screens and things for you. Do some more sniping. So yeah, it came out the end of March 2006. I think Instincts came out on the Xbox One, or Xbox as you call it, and then this was kind of like that plus some, I say DLC, it was plus some extra content, new weapons and things, but it was a little bit of a port, just slightly improved graphics and things. But yeah, it was a good game for its time. It's a lot more of a linear version than what was happening on the PC back in those days. But again, I don't know where all these shots are coming from. I think they're coming from the little lagoon below, but they might be coming from the chopper. This is a thing. The water effects were nice though for the time. They were pretty cool. Rather than just flat, this is what this generation brought, some nice water effects. You can see them in most recent games as well now. Especially in, say, Assassin's Creed 4 or Far Cry 3. But in these graphics were pretty decent back then, in 2006. You know, we're talking 8 years ago now, and we actually are talking about 8 years ago, nearly a decade ago. Use this instant win button. Lots of generic enemies, very, very stupid AI, really. Oh, and a guy falls in the water and then forgets he can't swim, and I burst out laughing at that point. I mean, look how deep the water is. Not even shoulder height, and he just gave up. So he's just having a little bit of a swim. And that's FarCry Instinct's Predator for you. You can join me now when I'm gonna go into the last game of this little episode, which will be Tomb Raider Legend. But before we go there, I'll just take out a few guys here. I thought I'd give this one a little bit longer because it's one of those games. It was one of my favourite games when it came out. Really enjoyed it. And I think I'll do that with a lot of these games, is just give them a bit more time. Now I definitely shoot that guy then. And then you saw the blood splatter. So I don't know whether he's a boss or something. I can't remember. And what I do here is I make the classic schoolboy error of using a pistol at that range. And of course that rocket kills me. So we're now at the final game in this little episode, or part. This of course is Tomb Raider Legend. Very interesting item of clothing she's wearing there, but it's a costume in the game, so hope you appreciate it. Anyway, what I'm doing here is just highlighting how Tomb Raider came on, really. Since the previous one. I mean, this is the first Tomb Raider in quite a number of years. It originally came out again 2006. It's an action adventure game, but it relied heavily on, well, not really exploring tombs, more about shooting. And shooting generic twins or just generic enemies. I mean, the actual release date I think was like April time, 2006. The graphics were pretty decent though. It's the seventh. It's the seventh Tomb Raider game. Put it that way. And it's the 10th anniversary of the Tomb Raider franchise, basically. And it was the first game, actually, in the series not to be handled by the British-based Core Design. Okay, we gave part of this... we gave it partly to the British-owned US studio, Crystal Dynamics. A little bit of information as well is that it has the longest score of the series. It took them 9 months for the in-house composer to finalise the composing process. Basically, he was doing this micro scoring and things, and you can probably tell there's a lot of nice sounding things in here as well. I mean, it got good scores on Metacritic and things. I think it got like 8 out of 10s or 80% and things like that. It wasn't too bad. It's actually the strongest response it's received. It's one of the highest rated games in the history of the franchise. It's one of the strongest critical responses since Tomb Raider 2. So it's a good Tomb Raider game. There's no doubts about that. It was good. And, you know, I grew up with Lara, not personally obviously, but I grew up with her video games and things, and you know, a lot of people will grow up with different female protagonist, but
It's a snipe hunt anyway.
Any idea who he is or who he works for?
I haven't the foggiest. He's deliberately unremarkable.
Is that good or bad?
It's deliberate, which isn't good.
I mean, the generation before me, you could probably say that if they'd grown up on Halo, you know, Cortana might have been their female, kind of like, well, someone that they'd like be familiar with more. For me, it was Lara Croft in the Tomb Raider games. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this game. I've got the full 1000G on it, and I try and do that for every Tomb Raider game. I wish it was more about tomb raiding rather than, you know, just mindlessly killing people. And I really love the new Tomb Raider game. Really love that. Not a big fan of the multiplayer and things because I think that was a bit tacked on and there's just no need for it. I would have rather them spent more time on the single player, which they spent a lot of time on already. And it's, you know, spent a good, what, 2, 3, 4 years I think on the last Tomb Raider, most recent one. So I'd rather them do that, and because Tomb Raider for me has always been about raiding tombs and, you know, having a load of animals and things. And it's a bit of a shame because I think in this one there's only about 3 different animals. Don't quote me on that, but I don't think there were many. Whereas I remember the other Tomb Raiders, like Tomb Raider 2, that had, you know, your Yeti type creatures, your tigers, you know, oh, those tigers in the jungle on that wall. Still one of the memories I have the most. The sharks, I mean, that's what Tomb Raider's about. Not about just going around pistol whipping people all the time. I mean, they've tried to do something different with the animals on the new Tomb Raider, but I don't know what happened there. I think I just panicked. But already, we're only a couple minutes in, and this is from the very start of the game. We've already murdered 3 people. Well, not murdered, because they're probably mercenaries, but still, we've just killed 3 people, and we haven't raided any tombs yet. But no, I really liked this game when it came out. She's very acrobatic, as you can see. So yeah, I think I'll just turn around the score and I'll leave it there for you. But thanks ever so much for joining me for this little episode I've done for you today.
I'm falling in love all over again.
Tune in next time. Don't know when the next one will be out, probably in the next 2 weeks, but hope you've enjoyed it.
I'm a terribly lucky
Thanks for
girl.
watching. Take care.
And here come the bloody tourists to spoil you.
Your key doesn't